everybody, Anna Sabramowitz here, and I help instructional designers and multimedia developers create e-learning scenarios and story-based learning. All right, welcome. How are you? Hope you're having a fabulous day. Listen, clients come to work with me because what happens is they really want to create learning. That's really their biggest challenge is they want to create learning, e-learning that they're proud of, that engages people, that's creative. And so what I find a lot of times happens is that there's this overwhelm out there of choices for us, right? And the reason this happens is, we're bombarded with tons and tons of apps and software and all this stuff, but it's like there's things out there that are inspiring to us and we want to incorporate them, we want to use them. But what happens is after we are faced with all this choice and all this option, we kind of shrink back a little bit with either frustration or just intimidation. And either there's two kinds of camps that people fall into, and it's not that you always fall into the same camp. It actually almost depends on the project. Is that you'll see something out there and you're like, oh man, that's amazing, or this next project's going to be awesome, I'm going to do this. And then what happens is you start looking out there at the world and you're like, wow, there's so much. And either you're the person who goes, that's way too freaking much, and I'm just going to go back to how I've always done things, basically your comfort zone, and you're like, I know this way works, it's produced stuff before, and I'm just gonna kind of go back here. That's what happens when you're basically paralyzed by choice. And it happens to a lot of us. It actually happens to a lot of teams, because what will happen is you'll have like the person spearheading stuff and you're like, yeah, let's get it going. This is the way we want to do. We're gonna do this interactive story and it's gonna be awesome, or we're gonna do scenarios, and then you hit some roadblocks. And then what happens is you end up just basically kind of moving back to what we've always done before, because it's safe, because everybody knows what they're doing, and because it doesn't push you out of your comfort zone, and nobody really likes to be outside of it usually, right? So there's that kind of camp. So if you're in that kind of camp, or if that's happened to you before, give me a yeah, I've been in the falling back into the comfort zone camp. And it's not because we don't want to challenge ourselves, but sometimes we just don't know what to do. So it's just easier to be like, listen, I understand this way, I'm just going to do it this way. That happens all the time. God, it happens to me, right? Or the other thing that happens, let me know if this happens to you. What happens is you're like, okay, all I need to make it awesome, to make this next project kick butt and engage and be meaningful and be creative, is I just need the right app. I know there's an app out there, and I saw this forum and it said all of these apps that I should try to take my learning to the next level and make it engaging, and I'm going to do that one. And so what do? You spend the next free trial 30 days learning the heck out of that app, getting good at it, and at the end of that, you realize that it didn't solve that problem. It was just this surface level stuff. Okay, you got one more thing, but it doesn't really solve the engagement problem. It's just this icing. It's this shiny object that adds some glamour, but underneath we're still putting lipstick on a pig, right? So how do you fix that? That's kind of the challenge, right? Because it can make you feel almost like when you're there, like you're not, like, am I cut out for this? Is this actually something I should be doing? Because I see all this stuff out there and I know I want more, but every time I try, all I'm doing is I'm accumulating a bunch of these random little skills here and there, software, little add-ons, but there's at the core, I'm not improving things. So sometimes I've talked to people where they're like, I don't think this is for me. I think I've kind of reached the cap, right? And I've been there myself. And it's funny because for me, what I started out with is something really simple and awesome, right? And it gave me almost, should I say, instant success. And that was almost the problem with it, because The framework that I used was simple. It was beautiful. It was a solid pattern. And then what happened? And then I was like, I can't just be this. This is too simple. And because this is just the nature of our industry, there's so much awesome, shiny object out there and fear of missing out, blah, 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 blah. And I fell into that. I started listening to all this noise, this buzz, and it captured me. And what happened when it captured me is my projects started getting bloated. And what we were doing is we were doing a lot of this stuff out here. The core sucked because I wasn't following that formula, that framework. I didn't get it. I just started being out here, like these little shiny fixes and distractions. And what happened, I finally reached a breaking point. The breaking point was me working with people on we were 3 months into the project, and we were still ideating without really knowing what the heck we were gonna do. And I was like, there's gotta be a better way than this. This is ridiculous. I don't wanna do this. Like, it's draining. You feel like you got no momentum. So then I had to go back to, I had to say no to a lot of things. And I was like, wait a minute, let me step back a bit and say, hey, this worked. I know it wasn't sexy when I was doing it, but look at the results. The results were super sexy. Wait a minute, maybe that's it, right? So my tip for you, because this is what worked for me, and this is what I think, if you're at the breaking point and you need to break through and you just need some clarity, this is what I suggest you do. Look for an experience that is to you engaging, it moves you, it has all the elements of the kind of experience you'd like your audience to have, your learners to have. Some examples are connect with Haji Kamal. Another example, brokencoworker.com. Check it out. That's just an example. There's others out there. Find one that you love and you're like, okay, this is something that I might want to do. Now, before you start doing any software stuff, these are the two things you're going to do. You're going to go through it more than once. You're going to go through it several times. And you're going to take out a bunch of pieces of paper or stickies, and you're going to write out simply, in boxes even, what happens. And you're going to do that until you get the pattern. And you're going to look at the elements that make that experience work. There's two reasons for this. One, we get enamored with like the jazzy stuff that's usually on top. We forget to look at the underneath, the pattern that makes something work, because those things are magic. And there's two. The two is the paper. And I know this sounds weird, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's okay, I don't need to use paper. Yes, you do. You know why? Software has no constraints. Software allows you to do infinite pages, and therefore you lose, because you're looking at minutia and details, you lose sight of the forest. So I don't care if it takes you 50 pieces of paper to show what happens in this experience. I don't care. But you'll actually have some constraints. And that constraint will help you then weed out the stuff that's unnecessary and focus on the repeatable patterns that make something a success. That's how I started. That's how I did it. And that's what works. Because the thing is, the designers in the design world says that the computer is it's a distraction. It's not actually a tool most times for great creative ideas, right? It's usually what happens is it's like trying to take the universe and pare it down to a single molecule. It's hard to do. So what can you do? Start with your goal, right? And then pull the things that you need. So whatever apps, whatever software, they can come later, but you've got your pattern, your framework. And that will really find you well equipped to go out into the world and search for what you need, instead of it all coming to you and then you having to weed through what you need. That's way harder. So I hope that was helpful. If you did find it enjoyable and you know somebody out there who needs a little bit of this kind of message, share it with them. I would appreciate that. Also, if you want to know the framework that I've been using, you want to skip a bit of banging your head against the wall and learn from my mistakes, go to elearningsecrets.com and register for an upcoming training webinar, because I'll be sharing it and I'm running them live, so you can participate and ask me any questions you have about the struggles that you're having. So I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Thank you so much for joining me, my friends, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.